Carolyn Dube here. What's the play for today? Well, for this week's Let's Play video, it's all about changing your mind. I'm going to take an art journal page that I made eons ago and that I thought was finished. I'm going to change my mind and say it's not finished, and I'm going to do some more stuff to it. Now, this is all part of the Let's Play video series, and of course you can find more information about it over on my blog at acolorfuljourney.com, and down below in the video description here on YouTube, there is a direct link right to that blog post. So here's the art journal page that I am going to add more to. I'm going to change my mind. I thought it was finished and all done when I did it years ago, but now I have a different idea, and so I'm going to build on it. I'm taking some gesso and just smearing it around with my fingers because that's what feels really awesome to me right now. And I'm protecting that too. I love that too with the neon green and the orange and the pink. I love that right there, so I'm kind of protecting it. And I'm thinking maybe I want to protect those rectangles too. Nah, I don't want to. I'm just going to cover right over them. So I'm really covering over a whole lot of this, but not the two. I'm really working hard to preserve and save that, so I'm going around it, not over it. I absolutely am in love with that too there, and I'm in love with the flower. So those things, they're not getting gessoed over. But I don't really want the flower there, so I'm just going to try and rip it off. And I'd put it down with some big glue dots, so if I yank kind of carefully, it comes up. And now I'm trying to get those glue dots up, and I have to say they are really stuck on there. They do not want to come up. So if you can't beat them, join them. So I've tried to pull them up. They're not coming, so I stuck it back down, and then I'm just going to go right over it with a bunch of gesso, and it's just going to be added texture right into the page. Well, now that I've yanked that flower off, how far is she moving? What, like an inch or 2 inches? She didn't go very far, but I'm much, much happier with her down there than when she was up at the top of the page. Well, now it's time to get some color on here because you know this was not going to stay with this much white space for very long. I'm just smearing the paints around with my fingers using just about anything that I've got, from Dilutions paints to some heavy-bodied paints. It's really whatever I have, and I'm just going to smear those colors around. To those of you who've just recently found the Let's Play video series that I've created, you might be wondering how these came about or why I'm doing them. Well, they came about because years and years ago, I was not able to play. I was very much a mature grown-up, and I had all those wonderful grown-up stresses that make life, frankly, quite challenging at times, and I was really tired of that. I had tried all these different things up and down the aisles of stores like Michael's and Hobby Lobby, and it still wasn't quite me. It wasn't quite right. It didn't feel the way I thought it should feel just yet. And the problem was for me is I didn't know how to play. And that's been my journey, is rediscovering for myself how I embraced play again, how I let myself play. And that's what I'm sharing in this video series and also on my blog and also through a free workshop called Permission to Play. So how can you find all of the videos in the Let's Play series, and how can you get signed up for the free workshop? Well, all of that stuff is over on the blog at acolorfuljourney.com. There's a link right to the blog post that goes with this video that has links to everything that I've talked about in the video. It's either down below in the video description or hopefully even popping up right on the screen right now. So the big flower that had that gasping look of surprise on her face, well, what is she surprised at? She's surprised at these 3 fun little flowers that are going to pop up from the bottom of the page. They've sort of popped up out of nowhere for her. And to get them on there, what I'm doing is using a stencil. This one's by Cathy Nichols called Boho Patterns, and it's available over at Stencil Girl Products. And I am just using a cosmetic sponge and some paints and stenciling it on. Now, you've probably figured out I'm not waiting for anything to dry here. Yeah, because I'm just not that patient about it. I'm really not that patient. But oops, those flowers did not stand out the way I thought they would. So it's simply an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. Not a mistake, not a failure, just an oops. So that baby wipe just erased all of it and took off a bunch of the other colors and paint. So now I've got a better surface, or a lighter surface, so that my colors will pop, because I'm going to put those flowers right back on there because I think now they're going to stand out the way I want them to. And to help them pop a little bit more, I'm going to use a bolder, darker color than I did the first time. So I'm bringing in the Dilutions purple, and I'm just going to stencil them on with that cosmetic sponge, dipping it right in that purple. And if I want a crisp image with a stencil, I need to use a small amount of paint, gentle pressure in an up and down motion. but that's not what my hand usually does. I usually have a lot of paint, I'm usually impatient, and I usually push down pretty hard. But then again, I really like the look that it gives me with that because it's not like this page is incredibly precise anywhere, so I like a little bit of paint running here and there. So I got the purple on there, and now I want to put some leaves on there. I could wait for it to dry, and that hand waving that you just saw, that's about as close to letting something dry as I feel like doing today. So I'm just going to work around it, and I'm just going to try and be careful. Well, as careful as I can be. So is some of my purple going to get in my green? Oh yeah. And boy, does that green just not show up there. It's really not showing up at all. Is that a problem? Is that a failure? No, it is just another oops, an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. Don't know exactly what the opportunity will be, but I do know that I like the leaves on it. I want that green, so I'll just add more to it a little bit later in the video so that I can get those leaves to pop out for me. Now, as I'm working on the green, I'm really drawn to those neon colors that are around the number 2. So I grabbed some oil pastels that are very, very neon, and I'm just going to kind of spread some colors around in different places. So as I'm putting this color around in different places, you might be wondering, wow, how does she know exactly where to put those colors? And the answer is, I don't. I'm just kind of putting stuff all around. I'm following impulses. And if there's something that I don't like where it is, or I don't like the look, I'm going to put something on top of it, or I'm just going to say, oops, it's an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. For me right now, it's just about the freedom of putting the color where the impulse strikes me. These colors make me happy, so putting them around on the page makes me happy. And for me, a big part of when I play with art supplies is just about the fun of the process, how it feels to see that color go on and smear around, and just really let myself play and get lost in the color. Now, it started raining outside while I was working on this page, so that gave me the idea to create rain all over this page, because all this wonderful spring rain that we're having will lead to some beautiful, beautiful blooming flowers later on. So I'm going to take a stencil that was designed by Missigman, and this is also over at Stencil Girl, and I'm just going to use this white heavy body paint to create rain coming down the page. Now remember that 2 that I'd been so carefully protecting and avoiding? Well, in my excitement about the rain here, I got a little bit of that inside the box where the 2 is. And that's pretty much a hint of something to come that I didn't think was going to happen. And that's kind of how things work with this. When I think I know what's going to happen, yeah, the plan seems to change along the way. So I'm putting this rain all over the page, and by the way, I think I'm getting it everywhere, but you'll notice I keep having to go back and add it here and there because there are parts that I forget. Well, now it's time to deal with those leaves. I'm going to bring in some of the oil pastels to try and add a little more color to that greenery that goes to those 3 cute little purple flowers down there, just trying to make them pop out a little bit more. And once I had one oil pastel in my hand, I kind of had to get another one in my hand and get some more color on these flowers. The pastels for me are just a wee bit addictive here, and I really love how they feel in my hand and how they feel as they write over things. Well, and yes, remember what I said about I was going to have to go back and add rain in little spots? Yep, added a few more here, thinking that's all that I needed to add to it. But as I was working on this spot, working on this vine here, I realized I need to put rain over that 2. That 2 that I'd protected so carefully from the beginning. Yeah, there's going to be some rain going right over that box that I so love with the 2 on it. And I gotta say, I still love it like this, but it was really hard for me to decide to put that rain over it. Now at this point, I think I actually have rain everywhere until I put the yellow on and I'm like, oh wait, there's no rain there. So once again, I'm going to bring out the stencil and I'm going to put some rain in another place. So now my page just needs some scribble journaling. I'm going to grab one of the Pico embellishers, bringing in the orange because, yeah, I need just a little more color on this page to capture what's going through my head in some journaling here. I'm also going to glue down that flower just using some tacky glue, glue her back down in the position that I want, and I am going to call this art journal page complete for now. Is it finished forever? Who knows, because since this is play, I reserve the right to change my mind at any point, so if I want to come back and add more to any of my existing art journal pages, I have the freedom to do that, because frankly, it's just play. Well, thanks so much for joining me for this video. If you've enjoyed this video and like to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button, and of course I'd love for you to come over and say hi on the blog at acolorfuljourney.com. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.